If someone were to show up and offer you something for free and say, "We'll pay for everything, don't worry about it, we'll cover all the costs, you don't need to give us a penny," usually you'd give them the skeptical hippo eyes and say, "Why? What's in this for you? What's the catch? Why would an EV charging company offer to pay for the entire project?" And usually, when people first hear about charging as a service, this is their response. But what is charging as a service? And how does it work? If you're new here, my name's Trevor, and if not, welcome back to the channel. I helped launch 2 successful EV charging startups, and now I make videos on how it works. And I promise you, if you subscribe to this channel, you'll learn everything you need to know to stay ahead of the curve. First off, what is charging as a service? Well, it's a special agreement between the host and the EV charging company. And when I say host, I mean whoever's location it is. So if the chargers are being placed at a restaurant or an apartment building, then they're the host. More specifically, the host is whoever's name is on the electricity bill. And this special agreement is that basically the EV charging company will take care of everything. They'll pay for the chargers, they'll cover the cost of install, they'll provide the ongoing maintenance, software updates, everything. Essentially, the idea is offering people a quick and easy way to get chargers installed with no upfront cost. And in exchange for this, the host will usually be on some form of subscription model where there's a monthly fee and often revenue sharing. Technically, in this case, the EV charging company still owns the chargers, and the host is essentially paying a monthly fee to have access to EV charging as an amenity at their location. This is opposed to the host buying the chargers outright and having full ownership and control over them, but also having all the responsibilities. Let's take a closer look at this in more detail. So, what are the steps involved if you are interested in charging as a service? How do you get the information? Well, first you'll need to reach out to an EV charging company and schedule the initial site visit. Then the EV charging company will come and meet you on site and take a look at the space, gather the information, take some pictures, and put all the details together for the project. Based on these details, they'll usually send you a proposal outlining all the terms of agreement in the contract. Now, here comes the interesting part: the terms and the money. What would you be agreeing to? All right, let's talk money, my favorite part. There are so many variables that can affect the terms and how the money flows, so stay with me. Usually, there are 2 main ways that the host will pay the EV charging company back for the project. The first and the most common way is a monthly subscription fee, and the second is revenue sharing. And often it's a combination of both. Every EV charging company is different, but they'll often adjust the agreement based on the type of location you have. In most cases, with charging as a service, the host will have to pay a fee per month per charger. In terms of contract length, it really depends, but I'd say the most common length is about 5 years. But the amount you pay each month and the contract length really depends on how expensive the project was. Kind of like when you're financing a car. And the second way is revenue sharing. And revenue sharing is when the money that goes into the EV charger is split between the host and the EV charging company. Now, this is where the water gets a little murky. EV charging companies aren't trying to be in the business of losing money. So, generally speaking, the more that they contribute to your project, the more that they'll be asking for in return to make up for their investment. For example, if the EV charging company paid for everything, they're providing maintenance and overseeing the chargers, and your location isn't in a great spot with super high traffic, then as a host, don't expect to make a whole bunch of money from these chargers. But if the install was cheap and maybe you even put down a little money to help pay for the project. Let's say you're in a great location, it's prominent, you have high demand for EV charging, and the EV charging company sees your location as a valuable spot. Then, as a host, you might be in a position where you're able to negotiate for a lower subscription fee and maybe even a higher percentage of the revenue share. It really depends on how valuable your location is, and how the EV charging company calculates their return on investment. Another question is, well, what about rebates? Yeah, your property still will be eligible for rebates, but because the EV charging company paid for everything, they're most likely going to take those rebates as well. Oh, okay. Well, interesting. So, who does charging as a service work best for? When does it make the most sense? This really depends on the type of operation you're running. For example, if this is for a strata building, it could work well. Strata isn't a business, so they're not always looking to make a huge profit. They also probably don't have everybody in the building driving EVs, so the ones that aren't always excited to pay for an EV charging project that they can't use yet. And a big one is the support. Strata doesn't have a whole team to oversee the chargers on a day-to-day basis. So having the support from the EV charging company, if anything goes wrong, could be well worth it. There are also certain businesses it might be a great fit for, especially if you're looking for flexibility and you're not quite sure what your needs will be in the future. Let's say you had a business with a bunch of transport vehicles and your operation fluctuates, then you may need help meeting those changing demands. So it could be good having the EV charging company on your team to help revamp the operation if need be. Charging as a service could also be great for beginners. If you're new to EV charging and you want to test it out, but also want to minimize the risk, then charging as a service could be a great place to start. Also, the more expensive the install is, the more attractive charging as a service would be. If your building needs an electrical service upgrade and the cost of install goes through the roof, let's say you don't have the funds to pay for everything at the moment, and the EV charging company is willing to do so, then it might be something that you want to consider. Lastly, charging as a service might not be great for the long term. If you're in this for the long haul, then the reoccurring costs and the lack of ownership might not be a great fit. It really comes down to your business goals and the terms of agreement. But for now, if you're considering it, here are the main things to look out for. And it all has to do with the contract details and reading the fine print. The first big one is contract length. You want to ask how long you're locked in for and how you get out. I don't love people telling me what to do, so feeling trapped is never a good feeling. The second one is changing fees. So what happens if your chargers aren't generating as much revenue as the charging company originally thought they would? Does this mean that they're going to jack up the price of your monthly subscription fee? The third one is maintenance timeline. So we've all seen lots of chargers out there in public that aren't working. So if yours go down, does it say how long it will take them to get them up and running again? And the fourth one is such a big one, I can't overstate this enough, and it's carbon credits. These things are going to be super valuable in the future, so you want to make sure you ask who gets them, and if possible, try to retain them for yourself. Lastly is pricing. Who's in control of how much it costs to use the chargers? If it's the charging company and one day they decide to increase the rates of the cost of the chargers, then this could impact your customer's experience and reflect badly upon your business. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not necessarily for or against charging as a service. It can be a great solution for some businesses, but the devil's in the details. It all depends on the contract. As with any big decision in business, do your research, ask the tough questions, make sure it aligns with your goals, and really push for what's best for you. In my next video, I'm going to dive deeper into the good, the bad, and the ugly of charging as a service and really break down the positives and negatives. If you had any thoughts, feel free to drop them in the comments below. As always, I really appreciate all my new subscribers. You guys are keeping me motivated. Thanks so much for checking in, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers. Nailed it. One more.